All right, welcome everyone. We're going to get started here in just a moment. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. This is the APAP NYC Plus 2022 Conference Conversations, a call for proposals primer. My name is Caitlin Sackery, and I'm the Manager of Programs and Resources at the Association of Performing Arts Professionals. Closed captioning will appear automatically on your screen. If you'd like to disable the chat transcript, please click More on the bottom of the Zoom window and hide subtitle as indicated on the slide. APAP is located in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., on the ancestral lands of the Piscataway and Anacostan people, who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. I would like to pay my respect to the Piscataway and Anacostan elders, both past and present. Participants on today's webinar will have the opportunity to ask questions and provide comments using the Q&A and chat functions. If you have questions for us or our panelists today, we ask that you submit them using the Q&A box. We want to welcome you on our journey to our annual conference, and here to say a few words before we get started is APAP's President and CEO, Lisa Richards-Toney. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Caitlin. Good day, everyone. So glad to see all of you today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you here. As you know, we are planning for a conference. We are having and planning for an in-person gathering. We will also have online elements. So this event that we have today is very important because as we look to curate what we will do, we want to make sure that we're including you, our best ideas, our most creative ideas, and thoughtful ideas. We want this engagement to be robust and meaningful for all of you. So I encourage you to take advantage of what you're hearing today, what you're seeing. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us, and we look forward to getting your responses. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Okay. Also joining us for today's event are members of our APAP 2022 Conference Committee, as well as our APAP staff. Joining us today from our APAP Conference Committee is Diana Tan, booking agent with ECE Touring, Crandall Rogers, founder and president of For Mortals Productions, and Mark Alexander, executive director of Palm Beach State College Theaters. You'll also hear from APAP staff, including Lisa Richards-Toney, our president and CEO, Krista Bradley, director of programs and resources, Neo Narnar Madison, director of conference and meetings, and J.G. Decker, conference and meetings associate, as well as myself, manager of programs and resources. So to get us started with our call for proposals is APAP's director of programs and resources, Krista Bradley. Thanks, Krista. Take it away.
Thanks, Caitlin. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're so happy that you're here, and we're really excited to be launching this call for proposals. I'm going to be your host and facilitator for today. And to get us started, I want to just go through what you can expect that we'll cover. So our goals for today will include going through what the call for proposals really is. What's the role of a call for proposals in conference programming and how we're using it. We're going to walk through the priority issues, topics, and values for our APAP conference as identified by our conference committee. We're going to walk through what makes for a successful submission so that you can have those tips at the ready when you're being creative and coming up with ideas for submission. We're going to walk through a call for proposals application and a sample proposal so you can be familiar with the platform and the kinds of things we're looking for. And then we'll wrap up with some tips and reminders just to keep in mind as you think about this, and go through key dates and important considerations to remember. And we'll be answering questions along the way, but we'll also leave some time at the very end for some Q&A. And so without further ado, I'd love to introduce and bring on my colleagues who have been so amazing as part of our 30-person conference committee. Mark, Crandall, and Diana, can you put on your cameras? And JG, can we advance the slides? Great. So we just went through what we'll cover. So that's just a little reminder of what I just walked through. We can go to the next slide. So I'm curious, I can't really see you, but you know what the raise hand function is. I'm very curious to know who here who's attending this has already submitted a call for proposals in the past, or have you led a session in the past? Anybody use the raise hand function just so we can get a sense of how many people have done that? I don't know if I can see you. Well, that's okay. And we assume that there's some of you that may be first timers. So for those people that are veteran proposers, we have a few things that are new up our sleeve. And for those that are new, we hope that this provides you the information that will be most helpful. So what's the role of the call for proposals? The role of having a call for proposals is really to help yield timely, relevant, and inspiring professional development for our very diverse membership. And for us, this is really an opportunity for our membership to suggest professional development sessions that are timely for you, our best practices that you've discovered, our trends that you are observing in the field, your opportunity to share learning and burning and business insights and challenges that you've experienced in your role in the field, and to give your colleagues some greater insight about the state of where things are in our industry. And for us at APAP, a successful professional development series means that everyone finds something of value and gets inspired about their work. They get grounded in the field and they make new connections with others or in their learning and their job. So that's what we're going for here. And we look forward to having you as partners in that effort. For us to move forward, let's talk about the conference committee priorities and the roles. I want to just share with you kind of how we've been working for the last couple of months. We have a conference committee made up of about 30 people from the field, each representing various roles in the field. APAP 2022 is your conference, and every conference is your conference, and your perspectives and voices, experience matter for its programming. And the conference committee was our first step in trying to ensure that. So we have approximately 10 agents and managers, 10 artists, 10 presenters, and other roles in the field so that we can really have a diverse set of voices at the table. And they have been working very hard to help us identify what key issues we think are important right now, and also the priority subject matters and values that we want to uphold. So I want to turn this over to Crandall first to just talk us through and share with you some of the priority subject matter that we've talked about as a conference committee and the topics we discussed. Crandall?
Thank you, Krista. So starting with, where we're sitting right now, and where everybody's head is probably in the last week, we've identified some topics that we feel are crucial and would be timely and would be topics that would educate and inspire and help all of everybody attending the conference. But we want to know what you think. But some of the topics that we've put to the forefront, reopening in the constantly changing picture of the pandemic is definitely top on the list up there. And how do you deal the challenges and opportunities in dealing with these constant changes? Also at the top of our list are things pertaining to mental health, being kinder to ourselves, being more compassionate and kinder to each other, but also ways that we've all learned during this last 18 or 24 months of kind of putting ourselves first, which is something that we may not have had the opportunity to do during day-to-day work. And maybe you have some great new ideas that you've learned on how to de-stress, on how to de-chill, on how to, take your break and keep your mental health and your wellness at the top of your list. Also going away from kind of what can be a very toxic culture. The entertainment industry can be a very toxic culture. We all sort of think working 24 hours a day is what we're supposed to do. And I think we've learned a lot. So that is chief on our list, or high on our list. Changes and trends in business practices, new way of doing business, new ways of contracting, collaborative contracting, flexible contracting, and maybe new ways of reaching out to people, new ways of letting of agents letting presenters know who they have, and presenters letting agents know of what they need. Have you found a new way, to do that over the course of the last year and a half? Also, of course, keeping in mind that that we want to try to keep that ready lens and that ready thought, sort of in the forefront of our minds as we're thinking of things. And anything that falls into that category, how you may have found a way to bring the Ready Pledge or some of those pieces of the work that's being done into your own venue or your own agency. But again, topics that you feel are timely, if it's something that you really feel passionate enough about to write up a proposal, it's probably something that a whole bunch of other people want to hear about too. And just when you sit back and you reflect, what are those things that have run through your head over and over and over again in the last 6 or 12 or 18 months? What are the questions that you're asking your colleagues when you're on a Friday night cocktail hour call? What are the questions you're asking them? Innovative ways that you guys have found both to navigate the last year and a half, but also going forward, and with I think a heavy impact on business practices and trends and changes, and building back better. A lot of what we would love to see come in are ways and ideas for building our industry back better and stronger and kinder, and more diverse than it was before. I think I've hit everything. Krista, does that sound good to you?
Yes, thank you, Randall. There's a lot to consider there. So thanks for sharing all that. It's Mark, and we want all of your sessions that happen at the conference, whether it's online or in person, to be full. We want people to want to come and hear from your experience, from your challenges. And one of the things that we really think is key is for your proposals to have some innovative format, to come up with ways where you can engage the audience in a way maybe they haven't been engaged before. I think that's really critical. I think the days of sitting in an audience in front of a panel and getting to ask questions at the end, we may be past that after all we've been through in the last 16 months. So I think it's really important that when you think about your subject matter, you think about how you're going to present it and what's the best way that you think you can get all your ideas across and make it interactive so people in the audience feel like they're part of your world as you're navigating your way to sharing your experience and your know-how. One of the other things that we know can be helpful is there are many, many apps now that you can use to engage your audience during the proposal, during your presentation. So if you know of any of those apps that you want to use where you can poll the audience right on the ready and people can be anonymous so they can really be honest in their answers to you, put that in your proposal so that we know, technology wise, we can work with you and make sure you have what you need. But really just keep in mind that, you want to do a session that really takes people by the hand and says, we're all in this together and we're going to learn together. I'm going to share some things with you and we're going to take this to the next step. I mean, if we learned anything over these past 16 months with COVID, is that we are depending on each other more and more now. I know for the Florida Presenters Consortium, we're meeting weekly on Zoom and we've really never been a closer group. We always were a group that was solid and cohesive, but now we really are engaging in honest stories and honest sharing. And I think your sessions that you propose can have a breadth of that honesty and ability to reach out and bring all of us kind of to the next steps in our career, because the industry's changed. There's no going back.
Thanks, Mark. Diana?
Yes, so APAP values equity, diversity, inclusion, and access for all people as core principles of the conference. Over the past few weeks, we've discussed the importance of amplifying diverse perspectives and using PD sessions to lift up the Ready initiative while we focus on reconnection, commerce, compassion, and rebuilding. The increase in generational, gender, and racial diversity develops a need for proposals that share best practices for finding and recruiting emerging and diverse employee talent, executing internships in the field and how knowledge is transferred to younger workers, addressing and changing the toxicity of our work environments and how the arts can be used for healing, centering BIPOC and LGBTQIA+ voices, creating more environmentally friendly policies, using sustainable materials, and becoming green certified. How organizations, especially those focused on equity, can get in front of philanthropists, and how are organizations finding and cultivating relationships with philanthropists of color? How has the role of philanthropy shifted over the pandemic, and how to evenly distribute it amongst all arts stakeholders? Curating a panel of leaders from multiple genres talking about how they are managing equity changes with an emphasis on the action stage. An example of this would be the Black Opera Alliance, focusing on accessibility, technology, and elevating the use of hybrid work and art spaces, how to keep virtual and in-person experiences involved moving forward, how to create more welcoming environments and productions for potential new audiences, a panel featuring people who meet with and discover all exhibitors at the conference and why they do it and what they glean from it, discussions that dive into the culture of presenters not wanting to hear pitches from agents, and how to facilitate more organic conversations between the two. And finally, sessions regarding international touring and when these artists can return, specifically on bringing diverse programming to non-diverse communities. If you feel you're an expert or have ideas to share regarding any of these topics or issues related to these topics, we invite you to bring it and can't wait to see your proposal.
Thanks, Diana. Thank you all. That's really a great description of all the things that we've talked about at the committee level. I do want to underscore an important piece that maybe I want to make sure that people hear. We know that in the past, not everybody can get to PD, particularly, we know a lot of agents and managers and artists are busy showcasing, they're busy meeting with presenters, it's very limited time. And while we understand that, we feel like we need to have everybody at the table because we are an ecosystem. And so it's really, really important to the committee, to APAP staff, to our board, that this professional development series really reflects the voices of all of us. So we encourage artists and agents and managers and producers to consider submitting a proposal so that we have the perspective that you bring and the very rich experience that you bring as part of the entire ecosystem at the table. And when we talk about our Ready work and our Ready priorities, we are applying that in a way that impacts, thinking about panelists and how can we make sure that the panels are not just from the coast, that the panels are not just only people under 35 or over 55, that they're from every part of the country. They're geographically, gender, racial, and experience diverse. And so we encourage that. Is there anything else that we didn't cover, Crandall, Mark, Diana, that you think that we should underscore here?
One thing I think we didn't mention at all is in thinking about your proposals, anything that you can have that is a takeaway for people. If there is an actual tangible PDF or a little tip sheet or some kind of a tangible thing that they can walk out in quotes of your session with, that helps them to apply what they've heard in their own business or their own life. That is a crucially important thing too. People love to actually get a takeaway that gives them an example of how to put this into action.
Thank you, Crandall. Thank you. That's great. And thank you, Caitlin, for putting the 10, 20, 30 pledge in there. We put this in here because we're going to be applying our pledge to the conference programming, and just how do we, what percentage of the programming will be reflective of some of the items that we have lifted up in the 10, 20, 30 pledge. So if you're not familiar with it, you can look at that link. All right, let's go through to what makes a successful submission. And you can look at the slide that's been up for a while, but want to just walk us through here a little bit. So first of all, we ask that you read the call for proposals thoroughly. And the best submission is a complete one, and that actually is reflective of the guidelines. So please, make that your first step. We are accepting both ideas for a session and full fleshed out proposals. So I just want to underscore that. I don't think that's always been the case. So if you have an idea for something that you think is really important that we address, but you have no idea who the experts are around that, or maybe you just have one person that has talked about it, that's fine. Put it into the call for proposals, and we have staff and the conference committee that will work on fleshing out that idea with you, or not. If you want to be part of it, that's great. But just know that you don't have to have everything figured out to submit a proposal. We want you to reflect the key themes that your colleagues just identified and those that are outlined in the call for proposals. You've heard that we want engaging, inspiring, and interactive proposals. Think about how you cannot have just talking heads. Think about different formats or ways to engage folks. As Mark talked about, there's lots of tools out there to make things interactive, whether using technology or just using prompts and other kinds of ways to foster discussion and connection. We want you to include what you think will be, critical and important for folks to hear. We want you to provide background on the panelists that you propose if you are submitting a fully fledged out proposal. Give us information about who those panelists are, where do they come from, maybe what their background and expertise is, because we may not all be familiar with who those folks are, and we hope that we're not, because we'd love to have some fresh voices in the mix. We want to encourage you to submit proposals that are flexible in nature and suitable for in-person or online, and just clarify which you think works best for your idea, whether it's in person or online, as we will be pursuing that kind of conference. And then, as a couple of folks have already said, that we want you to apply the Ready Lens to the panel makeup. So again, this means that we want you to ensure that the panel is diverse in all the ways that it can be possible and is suitable for the subject matter and content. So for example, I talked about not having everybody on the East Coast or everybody on the West Coast, or an all white panel or an all women panel, unless the topic is, I don't know, Latinx artists, perspective on new work, that would obviously merit a specific set of experts. But we do want you to just think about that Ready Lens when you think about your panelists, and make sure that you seek out different kinds of voices to raise up the expertise. So now I think that we, let me just ask anybody, did I miss anything there, or can we move on? I think we can maybe move on. We want to show you what the call for proposals portal looks like, and it's up on the screen right now. So you'll see these different elements that you'll complete, and it's really small on my screen, so I can't read all of it, but I'm sure it'll be easy for you to read. And so you'll put in whether it's a session idea or whether it's a full-fledged proposal. You can see that this example is one from, I think, 2019 that we had. The title was a Broadway Town Hall. It was a session that took on a different kind of format, as in a town hall format. It was focused on Broadway booking and touring, particularly for smaller and mid-sized markets. And it included a variety of different people at the table, both producers that are organizing these tours and different kinds of Broadway tours, and different sized presenters that were part of that conversation. So you just want to actually complete this and let us know whether it's both for in-person or online or both, as this one indicates. And then you would fill out the description box, and you would also be clear about your outcomes and takeaways that you hope people would leave with. I think in this one, it was just to raise the awareness about the difference of Broadway booking and touring for small and mid-sized markets, and what works and what doesn't. So it's not listed here because we've applied some different criteria this year, but that's how that would work. What made this such a strong proposal was that it covers, it would have a strong description, it would have a diverse panel, it would be a timely and unique topic for a particular constituency within our field, and it would include a range of qualified experts, and also have clear goals and outcomes. So those are sort of the things that make this great, and this is also just to get you oriented to what the call for proposals platform looks like. All right, so I think we can move on to tips and reminders, and I will pass it on to Mark.
Yes, thank you, Krista. So one of the things that we're striving for is content that is new, that is maybe a topic that hasn't been put forth before at the conference. Hopefully some of you or a lot of you have attended conference before and are taking part in some of these professional development workshops and seminars. So you know the kind of things that have gone through the process before. Let's have some new topics this year, especially given the kind of new direction that our whole industry is taking. Again, as Crandall said earlier, takeaways are really important so that the people that came to your session feel like they can now go back and stay excited about the things that they learned from you, and that they have some way to implement even the smallest little thing in their own institution, because that's really important. And that is really a measure of success, that you have now shared this idea, this process, and other people are now integrating it into their own operations. Again, we can't stress enough this interactive piece of the sessions, that we want people involved. We want people, it's another way that people can get to know each other as well in the session. That, if it's interactive and people are discussing in smaller groups, or that they're engaged with the app and technology and they're ready to share with each other, it's always going to be more successful, always going to be more successful. And that hands-on learning piece is really, really important. Some of the things that, I'm sure most of you know, we are really looking to get into some deep content, surface level stuff. Most of us in the industry have enough of those examples and been through that enough we don't need another session on that. Talking about successes of your own organization is okay if it's something that you can impart on someone else as a model to really implement and to really share with someone, so they can make the same difference in their community that you feel like you made in yours. So that's different than just talking about your success and self-promotion. That kind of thing we can kind of leave at the door. We want to make sure it's something that really makes an impact on the audience, so that they have a tool to go back and make some changes. And the engagement is really important. You want to connect with the people that are there. They took the time from their conference to be with you. So make sure that you give them opportunities to engage with you and other people that are also in the session. That's really, really critical. Q&As are great, all the different tips on learning. But again, I really encourage everyone to research some of these apps that are out there now that are just amazing. And they really give you the answers you want from your audience, but also gives the audience that feeling of empowerment that they're part of the session.
Yeah.
Yes, and we really encourage you to submit all ideas, even if it's not completely fleshed out. We really want to hone that in. if you don't know what kind of who you would put on your panel, we just submit the idea that you have or the skeleton of your presentation, and APAP can work to curate that for you. And we also want you to be specific about who can easily digest your presentation. What level of their career are they in? Are they emerging? Are they veterans? We want something for all levels. And we also want to appeal to all the different silos of workers that we have, arts professionals that we have, from agents, artists, managers, presenters, venues, marketing, all of it.
Great. Awesome. Crandall?
Yep. We want to encourage everybody to not let an idea go because you think it might be too individual to you. It might be too much something that you feel only applies to your situation. You know, as Mark said, one of the things that we have really learned during COVID and during this last, you know, incredibly difficult time we've all been through is I have made jokes all the way along saying, well, we learned that, you know, we learned that we kind of were all up the creek without a paddle, but we were all up the creek without a paddle together. Like, and that became probably our strongest attribute as an industry through the course of this, was the new connections that were made through workshops, Zoom meetings, you know, things that were done. You may think that something is only important to you and that it's only your unique perspective or observation of a trend or a challenge, or maybe how you solve the problem. But in order for these sessions to be educational and inspiring and really enlightening to a larger membership, we need unique perspectives. We need individual perspectives. You may, without even knowing it, come upon the best idea to handle a problem we're all dealing with that anybody out there has come up with, but nobody will know about it if you don't find a way to present it. So really, we encourage you to take your own past experience and use it as a way to pass on to other people, and then also to really reflect diversity of our field. And that can mean race or gender or geography or whatever, but it can also mean age. It can mean audience demographic. It can mean how much of a community organization you are. It can, you know, diversity of the field also reflects university presenters, civic presenters, nonprofit organizations, self-represented artists, dance companies, theater artists, you know. Diversity just for us can mean 1,000 things. And I would encourage everybody, if you're going to do a panel, you're thinking, I'd like to do a panel about community engagement, like, you know, so really maybe bringing some of the concept of commerce with compassion into your work, and really finding that through something you really clicked with your community a lot, you're going to build a panel. Go for people that have a different community to click with. Go for people that are a different type of genre than you are. Go look for where you might find commonality among all those different people, but bring all those different voices to the table, because that is how we're all going to really gain knowledge, is by hearing the experience of these incredibly diverse groups. You know, and don't just think race, gender, age. You know, think all different kinds of things. Because as I said, it could be that whether you're nonprofit, it could be that you're a venue that's in a town of 2,000 or a venue that's in a town of 102,000. You know, that kind of diversity is going to build a stronger panel.
Thank you, Crandall. And also, just to build on what Crandall was saying, I'd also underscore the professional role that you play. You know, a lot of people that come to conference are in the business of booking and programming. And then there are many others that are coming that run venues, that are operation folks, that are marketing and development people, that are community engagement and arts education folks, that are production oriented. one of the wonderful things that we learned last year when we were virtual is that more people on staff could access and attend the conference. And for many people that maybe never got a chance to come in person, this is a great way to understand the full breadth and depth and diversity of the field and the different elements of positions that make it possible for our field to be successful. It is not just the programming, but all the things that support that programming and support artists and communities. So we'd like to ensure that we encourage sessions and proposals that reflect that. I will bring us home with some of these other pieces. We really want to encourage you to be creative. In the call for proposals and the guidelines, we noted some innovative presentations and learning formats that we've come across. They all are around experiential learning. People maybe throwing out an idea or learning that they had, and that reflects their own learning. As adults, we like to know that we have something to offer to other adults, and our experience counts. So experiential learning is a really great thing. Debates are fantastic opportunities for raising up different perspectives around an issue that we're dealing with. Gamification, coming up with different games or game strategies, in terms of imparting knowledge or figuring out alternative ways to address problems. That would be awesome. Other workshop kind of problem solving techniques would be great. We're looking at potentially having lightning rounds, like just sort of bright spot 15-minute exciting things that have happened across the field. That could be great. We're also, our conference committee has offered some great ideas about ways that we can do some things pre-conference. And by pre-conference, we mean either the days leading up to conference or doing things in December, early December, and just having an opportunity for people to learn and talk about a particular issue in the road up to conference, and then also have a deeper conversation at conference. So this whole idea of a two-part session, we want to encourage you to think about that, as well as a town hall idea. So there's those are just some things to get you going. Hopefully, I know that we have a creative field, so there are things that you'll come up with that we encourage you to submit. Given the hybrid nature of our plans, we will feature fewer professional development sessions overall. So this is not a 60 session conference. This is more like a 35 session conference. And some of those will be curated by staff and our committee based on some big topics and maybe leading names that we want to make sure we're encouraging and getting to you and making sure that we're gathering some of the leading experts around critical topics. And that's something, as your art service organization, is our job and our role. But we also obviously are balancing that out with the call for proposals and the things that you submit, and some of the strongest ones that rise to the top. So all that's to say is that we can't accept all submissions, but we encourage as many submissions as possible, because we might not be able to have them all at conference, but that doesn't mean we can't have them for other sessions before or after conference. So give us your best shot and put out your ideas as much as possible. And then also just to manage expectations. Oftentimes in the past, we've seen that more than one group or person has an idea, or they come at a topic from two different lenses. We may want to bring some session ideas together, or address or curate them in a way that maybe it was just, you might have one idea and another one of your colleagues has another idea, and we think it might work together. That will also possibly be an opportunity to move forward. So I just wanted to let you know that that's a possibility as well. Okay, so that's our tips and reminders. Let's close with some of the important dates, and then we can open up for questions. So the deadline for receiving your submission, whether it's an idea or a fully fleshed out proposal, is September 9th. You will know whether we have accepted your submission by September 30th. And again, we're taking ideas and full-fledged proposals. if you are accepted, if your proposal or your idea are accepted, you must become or be an APAP member registered for conference by October 22nd. All info will be listed in the guidelines and on the website. In case you didn't catch it here, that's reference there. And in submitting your proposal, Neo just put in the link. That is the link to enter your data and the information on the CVent platform. So save that. And then if you have any questions about anything we discussed today or a potential idea, or you're confused about something, no question is silly or ridiculous or too simple. So send us an email at sessions@apap365.org. And this recording will be available after the webinar, and we hope that you will share it far and wide to your colleagues. So we are at the end of our orientation today. I see that there are a couple of questions, and they're from, both of them are from Ruth Bickler. Thank you, Ruth. Ruth's question is, if we're limiting the number of sessions, do you recommend submitting very broad topics rather than concrete things like case studies? That is an excellent question. I would say both, because we're going to need both, right? There obviously, we have fewer sessions, and so things that actually resonate to a broader swath of people, will be great, and that will be important if we have fewer sessions. But I think the specificity of case studies and concrete kind of examples of how things have worked would be really helpful. So I think that you can probably do both. Let's see. And then the other question is that it looks like APAP has permanently shifted the conference to MLK weekend. Is that correct? Can you give more background on this decision? Actually, no, we haven't permanently shifted to that weekend. As many of you know, and I will lean in on my colleague Neo if she wants to come on camera, that we are in long-term agreements with the Hilton, and those agreements are over multi-years, and the dates change depending on the year. So for those of you that have been around for a while, you'll remember the very early sessions that we had, like starting January 4th, a couple of years ago. And then we've been as late as, the 15th through the 18th. So it just depends on the year, who else, has booked the space and what dates are ours. So this is not a permanent move. It just so happens that these are the dates of our conference. So hope that helps. Neo?
Thank you for that, Krista. I'll only add that our dates are published currently through 2025 on our website. And as you're right, Krista, it shifts a little bit between the second and third week of January every year. Some more details to come on dates. It is not a permanent timeframe to be over the MLK holiday weekend.
Cool, thanks. I see hands up, but I don't think that's because people have a question. So Amy and Jan, I'm assuming that that's the case. But are there any other questions that people have about what we've gone over? And if not, you're welcome. You get 10 minutes back of your day.
I'll just add a quick note, Krista, on submitting the proposal. You do not need to be an APAP member to submit the proposal, but you need to join once it's been accepted and register for the conference by October 22nd. I'm also just want to give a reminder that APAP has a no barriers approach to membership through June of 2022. So that really means pay what you can to join APAP. So that should not be a barrier to submitting a proposal or joining APAP or joining us at the conference.
Excellent, thank you. We hope that all of you plan on coming, and we look forward to having you there. So thanks again for today. I want to thank our awesome panelists did such a wonderful job representing the conference committee. And we also want to thank the full conference committee, which I think you can actually find the whole list on our website. A great group of 30 of your colleagues, and they are playing a key role along with our staff team to make sure that APAP 22 is the best thing that it can be, in these uncertain times. So Diana, Mark, Crandall, thank you so much for your leadership and for being here. Thank you, Caitlin, Neo, and JG, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Krista.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Really, really great session. Thank you.